माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे। जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे। जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ। जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा। जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ। जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा। नीलाचल चंद्र प्रभु जगन्नाथ प्रभु जगन्नाथ। नीलाचल चंद्र प्रभु जगन्नाथ प्रभु जगन्नाथ। जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ। जय जगन्नाथ स्वामी जय जगन्नाथ। जय बल Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nadiya Bihari Gaur Hari. Nadiya Bihari Gaur Hari. Mayapur Chandra Gaur Hari. Gaura Gaura Gaur Hari. Gaura 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 Hari. Gaura 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 Hari. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Jaya Gaura Hari. Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Jaya Gaura Hari. Gaura 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 Hari. Gaura 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 Hari. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Go Pramanande, Hari Hari Bo. Devam Vishnupad Paramhams Parivraj Acharya Ashtottara Shata Srimad Divine Gestil Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Devam Vishnupad Paramhams Parivraj Acharya Ashtottara Shata Srimad Divine Gestil Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. नमाचार्य श्रद्धास ठाकुर की जय. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय. ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय. नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय. श्री क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय. गंगामाई यमुनामाई की जय. भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय. समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय. हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय. निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे. हरि हरि बोल. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Gopal की जय. ओम विष्णु पदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामने. नमस्ते सारस्वत देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवाद पाश्चात्य देशतारणे. गोपाल की जय. Thank you for joining. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 2, title Divinity and Divine Service, verse number 14. Let me share.
Which chapter, Guruji?
Canto 1,
Which chapter?
Chapter 2, verse number 14. Divinity and Divine
Okay,
Service.
Guruji. Okay, Guruji.
Yeah, I'm sharing on the screen as well. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hari Om Tat Sat. Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse number 14. तस्मादेकेन मनसा भगवान् सात्वतां पतिः श्रोतव्या कीर्तितव्यश्च ध्येयः पूज्यश्च नित्यदा. तस्मादेकेन मनसा भगवान् सात्वतां पतिः श्रोतव्या कीर्तितव्यश्च ध्येयः पूज्यश्च नित्यदा. तस्मादेकेन मनसा भगवान् सात्वतां पतिः श्रोतव्या कीर्तितव्यश्च ध्येयः पूज्यश्च नित्यदा. Word to word translation. Tasmad, therefore, Reading from Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse number 14. Reading word to word translation. Tasma, therefore, ekena, by one, manasa, attention of the mind, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Sattvatam, of the devotees, Patihi, protector, Srotavya, is to be heard, Kirtitavya, to be glorified, Cha, and Dhyeyaha, to be remembered, Pujaha, to be worshipped, Cha, and Nityada, constantly. Translation by Divine Grace says Bhaktivedanta Swami Gopal, Shri Gopal ki jai. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. Please repeat. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. Very nice verse, very important verse. The chapter itself is very important. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरं वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। वैष्णव की जय। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्। श्री रूप गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। Thank you for joining. So, we are discussing from Canto 1, Chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service, verse number 14. So, Saunaka and other rishis assembled in Naimisharanya asking the 6 questions to Suta Goswami, who is the spiritual master, because Suta Goswami heard the exactly Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami in the assembly of Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva. So he is narrating, he is repeating exactly what he has heard from his spiritual master, Sukadeva Goswami. So, which is very important point. So, the 6 questions asked by Saunaka and other rishis in Naimisharanya are: what is the ultimate good for the people in general? That is the first question. So, that's what is been answered here in the series of verses which we are discussing in the second chapter. And the second question they asked is: what is the essence of all the scriptures? And then the third question they asked is: why did Krishna appear in the womb of Mother Devaki and Vasudeva? Then please explain, narrate the Guna Avataras of the Supreme Lord, and then Leela Avataras of the Supreme Lord, fourth and fifth. The sixth question is: when Krishna left the planet, where did all the religion take shelter? So these are the 6 questions asked by Saunaka, the leader of the sages, to Suta Goswami, and Suta Goswami is answering in this. Specifically, first 3 questions are answered here, and we are in the first 2 questions are already answered, and elaborate description sequence step by step is being explained here. And especially this chapter explains how to go from Adhav Shraddha, beginning developing faith, to coming to the stage of Krishna Prema. Sadhakanam ayam premno pradurбhavet krama. Adhav Shraddha tata sadhu sango tata bhajana kriya tata nishta tata ruchi tata asakti tata bhava. So how from one stage of faith to Krishna Prema, how we can come, the practitioner. That steps are clearly laid out in this. We haven't began that yet. That will begin pretty soon after this. That begins from, I think, 16th or 17th. It goes till 21st or 23 or so. So a very important verse. But even these beginning verses are also very important. So what is the ultimate good for the people in general? So it's been answered by Suta Goswami in response to their questions which is Savai Punsam Parodharmo Yato Bhakti Radokshije Haituki Apratiyata E Atma Suprasidati. So, what is the ultimate good is to engage in pure devotion service, Parodharma, Bhagavad Dharma, Savai Punsam Parodharmo Yato Bhakti Radokshije, to the Supreme Personality Godhead Adokshaja, one who cannot be understood by the blunt senses. So, that's why we must dovetail our senses, mind, and intelligence in adokshaja. So, not by our it has to be purified by engaging in the senses in the Lord's service and devotees, the Lord's representative service, spiritual mark, then automatically that is called Bhagavad Dharma. So that is the ultimate good. Immediately it is being answered in the first verse itself. Then now what is this Bhagavad Dharma is further elaborately explained. What will happen? Why should I perform? What is the reason? What will happen if I perform Bhagavad Dharma? That is being explained next. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. The result of executing Bhagavad Dharma is Janayati Asu Vairagyam. Knowledge. We will develop knowledge, who we are, who is the Supreme Lord, and our relationship Sambandha Jnana. And also naturally we will also understand what is this material nature, how it has come, and what is the relation between the material nature and the living entity Jiva and also Supreme Lord. So then they will be able to develop detachment, internal detachment. Jnanam chet ahaitu, vairagya, also detachment, internal detachment will happen. This is the benefit of, people may ask questions, that's why that answers are also clearly laid out in step by step. Then, but some may not perform, some may not be able to. If we don't perform, then what will happen there? So, those who are not able to perform this Bhagavad Dharma, then they have been asked. Actually, for the human being, they are supposed to engage in Ata Pumbhir Vijasreshta Varnashram Vibhag Sthanustitasya Dharma Samsiddha Haritosh. So, there before that also it is mentioned Dharma, the living entity has Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So, the religiosity, economic development, everything must be used. Kamasyana Indriya Pritir, Labo Jivir Yavata. So it must be used to self maintain, to sufficiently to maintain our health, maintain our body fit. Only to that extent. It should never be used material gain. This religiosity should never be used to increase our enjoyment on the bodily concept of life. And then it is going to create. You will not be able to cross over this material miseries. Dharmasya hi apavargasya. Apavarga means this papa babama, which is nothing but this birth, death, old age, disease. So only by using our dharma, our religiosity, economic development, even if we have desire, still we should worship the Supreme Lord in a personal form that is coming up. So that is, and one must inquire. Ultimately, all these things, this dharma, artha, kama, moksha, even chaturveda purushas, also ultimately it should be to inquire about the supreme absolute truth. So this knowledge and Bhagavad Dharma, why should I perform? The result will be knowledge and detachment will happen. At the same time, all other benefits automatically will come, as Belamangal Thakur is saying. In the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, at the end, we see that Krishna is giving that assurance in 8.28. Vedeshu Yajneshu Tapassu Chaiva Jnanem Yat Punya Phalam Pradishtam Atyeti Yat Viditva Yeti Upayati Chadyam. So everything, whatever we reading the Vedas, performing yajnas, sacrifices, whatever results, all these are there. All these results will come by simply performing devotions. We don't need to extraneously study this, study book, this book, that book. And simply by executing this devotion service, we'll be able to really, just by simply chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, reading and hearing, while chanting, hearing, and also reading Bhagavad Gita, which Krishna directly spoke, and also Srimad Bhagavatam, which is about Krishna, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is talking about even much more higher and how to live, how to practice it with a practical application, how Krishna himself conducted, how he dealt with each and every devotee. That has been explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. In this way, so we practice it. We don't need to separately read so many other books, so many other literatures. We don't need to read Vedas. We don't need to read Vishnu Sahasranam. We don't need to read so many other things. It is good, but it is not required. So we generally from the background, if we are coming from South India background, sometimes we are tend to read so many books, read or recite so many different types of prayers, different sahasranamas, different worship of different demigods. All these are there, but Shastra is clearly giving the details. What is ultimate good for the people in general in this verse here. So now, since it has been said to inquire about the absolute truth, ultimately the Dharma Chaturveda Purushartha, then Sota Goswami is giving that detail. So, what is this absolute truth? The absolute truth is laid out in three ways. Vadante tattva vidastattvam brahmeti parama jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti sabdayate. Three steps are there, which is first understanding is Brahman realization. This is Brahma Jyoti, Nirvisesh, what is that? Nirbeda Brahmanu Sandham. That means there is no variety there. So merging into the Brahman effulgence, that is the sun rays, the effulgence, the energy coming from the Supreme Lord. So that is toenails from his Lord's toenails from Vaikuntha. It is coming. This Brahman, whatever we see, this Brahman effulgence. The sun is also getting the energy from the toenails from same. So sun doesn't have its own power. That is coming from that is called Surya Narayan. Narayan is the source of the sun's power, that Teja. So that is the sun rays. The example is like sun rays. Is the first understanding of the Supreme Lord's absolute truth. Then the next understanding of that absolute truth is the Paramatma realization. So which is nothing but super soul. Is there in each and every atom, and is also there as a super soul as Paramatma only in this material world. Super soul is not there in the spiritual world. It is not required because you can directly see the Supreme Lord in a personal form in different rasas, depending on what rasa we have, what relationship we have, what form we have. Accordingly, we will see that particular form of the Lord there in Vaikuntha Lokas, depending on which planet within the Vaikuntha. Whether it Golok Vrindavan or Ayodhya, Dwaraka, Mathura, so rest of the Vaikuntha planet, different rasas are there. And again the Paramatma feature. Still, those who are yogis, they are always meditating. The jnanis are always looking to merge into the Brahmana. They think they want to merge into Brahmana form. That is what they are after. They think God doesn't have form. Nirakar, that's what they worship. But when Shastra says, when Vedas scripture says Nirakar means Nirguna, or Nirakar means the Lord doesn't have a material form. Lord doesn't have material qualities. That is what Nirgun means. That's what Nirakar means. So that is, but still, that is not all in all. That is the only beginning portion, beginning section, first step, Brahman realization. Then Paramatma, and those yogis are meditating always on this aspect, meditating on the Paramatma feature. So they also cannot come to the Vaikuntha planet. They will also merge into Brahman effulgence. They may attain mystic powers, but still that is still material. So, and they will ultimately, when they reach perfection, they will enter into Brahman effulgence, and then they will fall down from there. Unless they develop desire to serve the personal form of the Lord, then only they can enter into Vaikuntha. Otherwise, there is no possibility of them entering into Vaikuntha. Then ultimately that is like a sun planet. So the Paramatma is like sun rays is Brahman realization, sun planet is Paramatma. Then ultimately the last is the personal form of the Lord, which is Bhagavan realization, which is nothing but a sun, behind sun planet there is sun god, Vivaswan, the person behind it. So like that we understand that is what absolute truth. One must inquire about the absolute truth. So that is the ultimate purpose. Even following this, where Vishwakshena Katasena Utpadayad Yadratim Sama Evahi Kevalam. If one doesn't, they may follow Varnashrama system, they may not directly engage in devotion service, Bhagavad Vidhi. But even then, if it doesn't lead to developing taste or developing attachment to Krishna, then it's just a waste of time, time and resources and everything at the end. So that's why Shastra is clearly detailing out what is that ultimate good. Then now this absolute truth, after understanding these 3 pages, where further it is elaborated in the next verses 12, 13, which we are discussing um, for that. Because we have to understand the sequence, why these verses are in this specific way it is been given. Yeah. तश्रद्धानामनयो ज्ञान वैराग्य युक्त पश्यन्ति आत्मन च आत्मानं भक्त्या श्रुत गृहीतया. Yeah. If you want to understand that absolute truth, then one must one must inquire, one must perform the bhakti. Only way you can understand this Brahman realization, Paramatma, Bhagavan realization, full in details, is only by performing bhakti you can understand everything, the full aspects, at least in a limited portion, because the Supreme Lord is unlimited. We cannot understand. Lord Anantadev is speaking endlessly, still it is not ended. He is still speaking to 4 Kumaras and other devotees. That's it. One must have a seriously inquisitive student, one must have a serious, with a strong faith. You must be determined to engage in this devotion service with knowledge and detachment. Then he will be able to realize the absolute truth. Because it is in the 11th verse it is mentioned, so it is ultimately to inquire about the absolute truth. Then how will you realize that absolute truth? How will you understand? By performing, again coming to the same point of performing bhaktya sruta grahitaya. Based on what we heard from the realized sources, especially the spiritual master, sadhu and shastra and guru. Then further it is mentioned now, even if somebody is performing varnashrama, then that also it must be to come to that pleasing the Supreme Lord, either Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya, or Sudra, as we were discussing yesterday in Bhagavad Gita class. So you have brain department, you have you have hands, you have stomach and belly, and then legs. These 4 different departments of the body. And there is a dependency. There is a cooperation between all these 4 different departments in the body. Then only it can work in harmony. Same way, the living entities must, those who are in these different intellectual, administrative, and agricultural business, and then last one is the worker class, they all have to work in harmony. Krishna must be in the center. Dependency on the Lord. That's how it should be. Naturally, then they will, when they work in cooperation, especially they work in relation to the, especially serving the Brahmanas in this way. Kshatriyas are always guided by the Brahmanas, and Kshatriyas are making sure that Vaisya is doing Vaisya's job, Sudra is doing Sudra's job. So all these 4 Varnas and Ashramas are doing properly their own jobs, not somebody else's job, Swadharma. Then ultimately to please the Supreme Lord, that is the main center point of that Varna. If it doesn't happen, then it's simply they will not be able to understand the absolute truth. They will never be able to realize. Now, in this verse, in this specific verse, very important points are made. Therefore, it is concluding after explaining the previous verses what is the ultimate good. Tasmad ekena manasa Bhagavan Satvadam Pati Srotavyasya Kirtitavyasya Deya Pujyasya Nityada. So, where it is mentioned Tasma, therefore, because first one must have faith, as previously mentioned. Then one must be thoughtful. So, then one must have a knowledge, and one must have detachment. Then they have to perform certain activities like a business, or somebody, a boy and girl getting married. So they should have a certain faith. So they should have, then they should have certain knowledge about each other, about the same thing with the business, and they should have then they should have to perform the activities. They make an agreement, so the engagement in that way, same way in business also, and then they perform certain activities. Same way bhakti is also all about the service. And that's why it is mentioned tasmat, therefore. So once we have that, then we perform activity. What kind of activity we should perform? Tasmat ekena manasa, with one pointed attention, not different focus. We'll come to that. That mind, it is talking about the mind, how the mind should be absorbed. Different kinds of mind is there. So we'll come to the tasmad ekena manasa. Then Bhagavan Satvadambadi. So then, because different devotees or different people can interpret this, so that's why clearly it is being laid out. Because I can understand the absolute truth about the Brahman, but here it is clearly mentioned Bhagavan. That means only personal form. If you want to come to that one point attention, focus, and understand or come to that Bhagavad Dharma or attain Krishna Prema, only way you can attain is by worshipping Bhagavan in a personal form. Bhagavan Sattvatam, Sattvatam means devotee, but the one who is protector of great devotees like Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, Narada Muni, Vyasdev, Brahma, Shiva, these are all the great devotees of the Lord. He is the protector of his devotees. So that particular form of the Lord, the Bhagavan, Nirakar, how the Brahman effulgence, it is not connected in the association. If here it is clearly mentioned, Sattvatam means association with devotees. That means it is clearly connected with the personal form of the Lord. So by worshipping the personal form of the Lord with one point attention, then he can come to that form. Then it is mentioned Srota Vidya. What is that worship? How we can come? What kind of process? What is this Bhagavat Vidya or Bhagavat Dharma? So it requires four things. It is mentioned Srota Vyasya means to hear, and Kirtita Vyasya to glorify. Then Deyasya, that means meditation, absorption, or remembering. More than meditation, it is called remembering there. And then Pujyasya means worship. Nityada, not one day or 2 days or once in a week, once in a month. No, it is every day, constantly, regularly. So that's what is mainly clearly this verse is telling. Tasmat ekena manasa. Therefore, so one who is thoughtful, one who has faith, one who has knowledge, one who understood has some detachment and is looking to inquire about the absolute truth, then he must perform these activities. Then only he can understand. Bhaktya Sutta Grahite is clearly laying out what that activities is. So this particular first let's understand the hearing aspect, because without hearing, like even the material education, if you look at, first we need to have faith. If we don't have faith, then we will not be able to understand. Even the material subject, we all went to college or schools. We could have studied self. Why do I need guru, or why do we need to hear? The whom to hear from. That also hearing is the first aspect it is mentioned. And then why we should hear. And Prabhupada elaborated in his purport. Prabhupada is talking about these four things are happening in the material world, even if they don't believe in God. So people are talking about others, whether in the business terms or job or whatever work they are doing. They are always hearing maybe news, hearing maybe some other material news or material music or something they are hearing, not about God, but something else. But they are doing this activity. So same thing they are thinking, also glorifying somebody else, not the Supreme Lord, not the Supreme Lord's devotees, but they are glorifying somebody else. And then same thing is remembering. They're constantly remembering all kinds of activities which is not in relation with Krishna, not in relation with God. They're remembering all kinds of other things. So then remembering and then also worshipping. They are worshipping all these idols. That means all the personalities. So different famous personality, whether it's a sports, whether it's a politics or movies. So many different people have different tendencies to idolize. So this is going on. That's why Prabhupada is explained, elaborated on that. So either way, some form or the other, everybody is doing these four activities. But what is the main point is ultimate perfection, because that's why it is mentioned tasmat. Why it is therefore is used in the previous verses. It is mentioned if we need to come to the perfection, then we have to satisfy the please the Supreme Lord. So then that's why here it is mentioned, if you want to come to that perfection of pleasing the Supreme Lord by performing these four things, to hearing, glorifying, chanting, and then remembering, then coming to the worshipping the Supreme Lord. In these four things must be done regularly and with one point attention. So let's understand that one point. The mind, in order for mind to be absorbed, then there must be some activity. Mind cannot be idle. Mind, empty mind or brain, It is mentioned. What is it? Devil's advocate. It is mentioned. So if we keep it free without doing actual devotional activities, without thinking of the Lord in any of these devotional, like 9 kinds of devotional activities, as it is mentioned by Prahlad Maharaj. Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. There also you clearly see Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Is that the Shastra is not mentioning Sravanam Kirtanam Kali or Sravanam Kirtanam Durga, Sravanam Kirtanam any other gods. No other, you will not find in the Shastra. So in the bona fide scriptures, you will not find, especially you will not find in Vedanta Sutra, you will not find in Bhagavad Gita, you will not find in Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why really and personal form. They are not. It is not mentioned about worshipping the Brahman effulgence or Paramatma. Clearly, personal form, which is Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. Out of this, Iti Pumsarpita Vishnu, Bhagavat Chet Navalakshana. So, if you want to come to that developing Krishna Prema, then and these 9 forms of devotion must be performed. In these 9, there are 2 sections. Generally, we don't know, but Shastra is clearly laying out there. In the 4th canto, there is an example, there is a pastime that is laid out where King Puranjana, we discussed, he became a woman. King became a man, became a woman. Naturally, by the curse, as he entered where Lord Shiva's confidential place, a forest, somehow or other by mistake he entered and he became a woman. Then by somehow or other, then has been given, okay, 1 month you will become male, 1 month you will become female. So later on, he became, after some time he passed away. At that time he was thinking of his wife. Yam yam vapismaran bhavam tejisante kalevaram. Then he attained, in the next life, he attained a woman body. So that is, he became a daughter of Vidarbha, Vaidarbhi. Like Rukmini Devi, also daughter of Vidarbha, Vaidarbhi. Bhishmaka's daughter became, there also it is mentioned, Vaidarbhi, Vidarbha kingdom. But here, this is different, in a different timing. So, the daughter of Vidarbha, this King Puranjana was born as. Then there's a great devotee called Malaya Dvaja. Malaya, like how this Chandra, Malaya Chandra is famous, like that, he is a great devotee, exalted devotee of the Lord. He was always worshipping the Supreme Lord in pure devotion service. So that's why he is Dvijasreshta, like that. He is Malaya Dvaja. His name is a very strong, firmly conviction in executing pure devotion service. Then he married. This daughter of Vaidarbha. This King Puranjana in the next life. He married. So where it is explained, then he had one daughter, Bhakti Lata Bij. This Bhakti, the deity of Bhakti, the personality of Bhakti was born, a daughter. Bhakti Devi mentioned. There's some other pastimes also on this. So the Bhakti Devi was born, and then there were 7 sons. The 7 sons were this Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam. Until these 7 are called Vidhi Marga, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. There are 3 different category of devotees. The 3 different category of process or devotees. I would say there is Nitya Mukta, eternally liberated, or Nitya Siddha, eternally liberated devotees like Prahlad Maharaj, Narada Muni, Vyasdev. They are not conditioned. They doesn't become conditioned. So they are eternally liberated. They come with the Lord. So Uddhava, Arjuna, they are all eternally liberated. They come whenever Lord appears in different forms. They also appear along with them as associates. So they are eternally liberated. And then there is a sadhana siddha. That means by performing Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, that means rules and regulations we perform, then we come to the Krishna Prema after gradual progress. That is, they are called sadhana siddhas. Nitya siddha, that means eternally liberated, eternal associates like Jaya Vijaya, so many associates are there in different planets within the Vaikuntha Loka. So then we are talking about sadhana siddha, which we are So many of us are in sadhana siddha. Then there is also called krupa siddhas. So krupa siddhas means they are dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Sadhana is there, but also krupa, mercy is also needed. But there, so the this in this way, Shastra is explaining three category of devotees: Nitya Siddha, Sadhana Siddha, and Krupa Siddha. So here these seven category are called Vidhi Marga, rules and regulation, starting with Sravanam and Kirtanam and Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam. Until this, these are called the Vidhi Marga. Then the last two, Sakyam Atma Nivedanam, making friendship and then surrendering everything, like Bali Maharaj, like the Arjuna is in the friendship, Bali Maharaj is surrender, fully surrendered everything. These two categories. So out of, so he had seven sons, these the seven category of this devotion. Then the two others are the last two are Raga Marga. That means when we naturally come to that stage through Vaidhi Marga, through Vidhi Marga, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, naturally will come to that stage of Raga Marga, which is spontaneous devotion. In 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is giving different steps. So, first best thing is directly remembering Krishna 24/7, like the Vrindavan Vasis. They're constantly thinking of Krishna naturally, spontaneously. That is in the Raga Marga. But we are not at that stage. That's when Krishna is mentioning, when Arjuna asked, that's why here it is mentioned Bhagavan Satvatampati, personal form of the Lord. Because impersonal form will be very difficult. That was the Arjuna's question after 11th chapter of Krishna showing the universal form. Then Arjuna asked what kind of, whether the universal form worshipping the Brahman effulgence is the topmost, or the worshipping the personal form. Arjuna was evam satatiktaya bhakta stvam paripas teja apekshram avyaktam tesham. Then Krishna started giving answer. Actually, it is very difficult to worship impersonal form. So, क्लेशो अधिकतरस्तेषां अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर् दुःखं देहवद्भिरवाप्यते. It is very, very difficult to worship Brahman effulgence because there is no personal activity. You cannot see him, you cannot touch him, you cannot feed him. So you cannot, without personal activity, how long? Without variety. So that is what Nirbheda Brahmanusandhan, merging into Brahman, Parabrahman. Nirbheda means there is no variety. Veda variety, Nirbheda means no variety. So that's why they fall down. Because there should be activity, there should be variety. Otherwise, how long you are going to stay? So that is a problem. That's why it is mentioned Bhagavan Satvatampati. Anyway, so in this way, seven sons, Malayat Dvaja had seven sons and one daughter, that Bhakti Lata. Then Bhakti Lata was married to Agastya Muni, married his daughter. It is mentioned Agastya Muni is related to the mind. So I haven't studied his whole story, how it is. So obviously, probably he was born also from mind of Brahma, maybe. Or he might be son of Marichi, maybe, because he was born from Brahma's mind. So I'll have to look it up about the Agastya Muni. But it is mentioned he is related to the mind. He is very much fixed in the mind about worshipping the Supreme Lord. Agastya Muni married the daughter of Malayat Bhaja, and then seven sons. This way, where there it is explained, the first seven are Vidhi Marga, the last two are Raga Marga. So the seven categories. The knowledge must, just like the material education we hear, we must have faith. Otherwise, if we have a serious disease, we have a faith, we find out who is bona fide, who is not bona fide. If we hear from anybody and everybody, so then it is not going to be developing attraction or attachment. So where you will not be able to understand. Like you try to come to the, especially doing PhD or any regular subjects till 10th grade, it might be alright even if you do self-study. But further intermediate, especially engineering or later on PhD or a tough subject, complex subjects, we must be guided by those who are expert, those who are studied and practiced in that. Same way as for spiritual education, to develop this, understand the absolute truth, it's even more necessary. That's why it is mentioned here. So that Srota Vyasya means one must hear from the realized sources, where it is mentioned Tasmat Gurum Prapadyat Jignaso Shreyamuttamam Sabde Parecha Nishnatam Brahmana Upasamasrena. One must hear from a bona fide spiritual master. So that's how it should be. Hearing from, not from unauthorized sources, and especially hearing from advanced devotees, where Shastra is explaining only way we can attain bhakti is through the association of advanced devotees. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, nice verse, it is mentioned, Krishna bhakti janma mula hoya sadhu sangha, Krishna prema janme teno punah mukya anga. The root cause of devotion service to the Lord is the association with advanced devotees. Even when they come to the develop awakening love for Krishna, it will be even more important to associate with advanced devotees. That's what it means. Krishna Bhakti Janma. How will we develop love for Krishna? Actually, how will we awaken? By Mola Hoya Sadhu Sangha, by associating with advanced devotees. Krishna Prema Janma, even when we still develop, because even in Golok Vrindavan, we are constantly serving not directly the Supreme Lord, not directly serving Radha and Krishna, or any other Sitaram or Lakshmi Narayan. Even then, also, you are serving through someone else. So, you are serving still your spiritual masters and various different advanced devotees. There also, you are taking instruction and you are serving. So that's it. Krishna prema janmeteno punah mukya anga. Even further also it is even more important. Association with the devotee is still more essential. You can understand. So that's why the greed to associate with advanced devotees and hearing is very important. So that's how we understand that hearing is very important. Where Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada is explaining about this. The hearing, the first one is regularly hearing. And so that means initially we may have some faith, we hear sometimes, not frequently, not regularly, not consistently. That is called Sravana Dasya. Then we have to come to the next is Varana Dasya. That means we will be fixed up in hearing regularly. So that is called Varana Dasya. So when we are in less faith, then we are not strong in faith, then we are in the beginning stage of Sravana Dasya. When we come to the strong faith, then we will hear every day. We have developed attachment to hearing. So that is called Varana Dasya. Then gradually, when we increase that consistently, increasing, developing taste for hearing, then we will come to the next stage is called Smaranavastha Dasya. In that also various stages. First one is the remembering. That's what here it is mentioned. Deya means remembering. How will we come after hearing constantly, regularly, every day? That is what is it? Varana Dasha. From Varana Dasha, Smarana Dasha, it will come. First one is remembering, then absorption, the recollection, absorption, meditation. Then sometimes it may break. We may think once in a day or some time of a day we may remember Krishna in some form or the other, or once in a week or whenever. It's not it is not regular. It's not fixed. So that is called this remembering, absorption, and recollection, absorption, and meditation. So we may come to that stage of meditation after many days or many years, many lifetimes also. It's not so easy. Then further it is called anusmriti, and then trance. That means regularly, constantly remembering, consistently, constantly remembering the Supreme Lord. Then trance will come to the ecstatic symptoms. Trance means he is going into the completely into that mold, bhava. So that's why it is meant Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati Kriyatam Yadi Labhyate Janma Koti Sukrut Bir Na Labhyate Tatra Laulyam Cha Ekala Mulyam. This is what the Krishna consciousness Prabhupada has made this society name is from this Rupa Goswami statement of this Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati. There is a rasa, there is a mellow. By serving the Supreme Lord and his devotee, there is a mellow. We have to develop that mellow. Until that it becomes mechanical and monotonous. If we don't develop taste, we don't develop attraction, then we are in the beginning stage of Sravana Dasya. We haven't come to Varana Dasya. We haven't developed because the mind is not stable. There are 5 types of mind. We'll come to that in a minute. So where it is mentioned here that Sravana has to come to Varana, Varana has to come to Smarana, and then Smarana gradually is that's why when we are brushing teeth, the bathroom or taking bath, anytime brain or mind is empty, then mind should be used to either we have to hear a lecture or doing a kirtan or chant or recite Bhagavad Gita or Mukunda Mala Stotra, whatever we are, our inclination or is there attraction in some form of the Lord, some form of devotion service of the Lord, then the mind is absorbed. Then naturally unwanted things will go away. Because when the mind's business is to think always of unwanted things other than the Supreme Lord, naturally will then rest of the day it's going to create that impressions, and it creates a problem in our consciousness. So that's why it is very important to use always mind should be busy in thinking of the Lord in some form or the other. So, whatever way we like, at least we should try to do that slowly and gradually. Then it becomes, we can see the transformation in ourselves when we follow that direction. So, that's what the Sravanam and Smarana, yeah, absorption, recollection, absorption, meditation, and then Anusmruti, then trance. These are the five stages in the Smarana Avastha stage. When it comes to the trance and the constant meditation, constant going into thinking of the Lord, then it will lead to ultimately Samadhi stage. Samadhi. Then later on, then he will attain his own Swarupa. He will be able to see the Lord, he will be able to talk to Lord. Then that is called Sampatti stage. That is the last stage from Samadhi and Sampatti stage, very close. So that's why we'll see in the second chapter at the end, after Krishna explaining how does those who are situated in transcendence, how does he walk, how does he sit, how does he behave. Arjuna is asking those symptoms. At the last verse, we see that the Eshi Brahmi Sthita Partha Nainam Prapti Sthitva Antagale Brahma Nirvanam Richati. That is Samadhi stage. How to attain Samadhi. Krishna is explaining in the last section of Bhagavad Gita in chapter 2. Very important verses, similar verses. So the now coming back to the mind, we have to understand this mind's business. Mind has a five characteristics. Mind has a five different types of mind is there. Vyasdev is explaining in the Yoga Sutra. First state of mind is called Kshipta, which is the example is given too much in passion. So there is no focus. Some passion is ruling the mind. The consciousness is not focused. Sometimes we want to do, sometimes we don't want to do. Sometimes we want to hear, sometimes we want to do service, sometimes we don't want to do. One day we are feeling good about devotion service, feeling good to chant. Next day we don't chant, somehow we lost the taste or we don't have inclination to do. So this is the beginning stage of Kshipta. So it is called. That's the example is given monkey mind. Monkey is doesn't know what it will do. So it is not stable. The focus is not there. So that's why for all these things will come to the solution. But the first stage of mind, so that it is in passion, is more predominantly in passion, state of passion, because of the impressions, because of the Shastra is explained. Yeah, I forgot to tell. So where these stages, Prabhupada is explaining in Canto 1, chapter 3, verse number 44, 1 3 44, I think, the last verse, where it is explaining. If one is, what is that? One who is not pure in his mind. So one who is not pure in his mind, he cannot be pure in his actions. One who is not pure in his actions, one who is not pure in his eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, he cannot be pure in his actions. So in these three steps, somebody to be pure in his mind, ekagra manasa, that is the fourth stage of mind. Mind, first stage is Kshipta, which is monkey mind, passion, too much in passion, not focused. And the second type of mind is called Muda, foolish, lazy. That means too much laziness, ignorance. Ignorance is more predominant. Always trying to sleep, or more in what is it, insomnia or whatever they call illusion. So they are not proper. Problem is this only: this eating, sleeping, mating. Prabhupada is emphasizing. This is all connected to that. It is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita also in one verse. Prabhupada explains the ahara suddhe, sattva suddhe, smritir lambe, sarva gantina. Unless our eating and sleeping habits, eating is the first problem. Ahara suddho, sattva suddhi. So if you want to come to the mode of goodness, then we must take the food we take is very important. That must be done. That means the mentality, the consciousness with which we buy vegetables, the consciousness with which we cook while cooking, the consciousness with which we offer. If we don't even offer, then we imagine the consciousness what we are getting into. So if we offer also, but the consciousness, we are thinking so many, hearing something which is not connected to the Lord, or they might be speaking about, we might be hearing something about devotional aspects, but somebody who is not attached, he is acting on the material platform, but he is speaking, he is doing a professional reciting, or he is doing for a professional to get money. Many are there in this world, whether it's yoga or even in bhakti, he also many take money, remuneration. So then hearing from them, associating with them, understanding bhakti from them is not going to really help. Shastra is clearly laying out that detail. It's not, that's why we have to understand it has to be heard from the bona fide acharya, realized, advanced devotees and bona fide acharya only. Tasmat gurum prapadya jigna. So he must be situated in this Brahman, in achar and vichar, both, not just simply speaking, but his actual, his activities. So many times they claim as God. They, so that all these things must be corroborated. We must understand evam parampara. It must, they must be coming from disciplic succession. That is the first thing we, most of the people lack. If you ask them who is their guru, what is the disciplic, which disciplic section they are coming in, how did they receive the knowledge, they cannot answer. They don't have the lineage. Then how are they getting it? So that means they have their own speculations and ideas and thoughts. So then that's not Shastra is revealed. The realized knowledge is through, as we see Sukadeva Goswami speaking to Sota Goswami speaking to Sonakanda Rishi. There is no question of speculation. Clearly, confidently, they can speak because they have heard and they are realized also, practically assimilated and realized after hearing from the previous speaker. So in the disciplic succession, so that's why it's very important. Shipta, it's one whose mind is not stable, not focused, that is in passion. The second one is the monkey mind, lazy mind. Not first one is monkey, Shipta, passion, and the second one is lazy mind, donkey mind. It is called. So Muda, that is second stage is called Muda. In Yoga Sutra, Vyasdev in Yoga Sutra, first sutra is mentioned here. These 5 categories of mind, and the second one is in ignorance completely. That means he cannot take up very few times. He is eating and he's sleeping and regulation is no regulation. So that's why those who are in this mode, Muda, that means if you are not able to do consistently, we should understand that we are operating in the first or second category of mind. That means we tend to become, one day we are active, one day, another day we are lazy, another day we are not able to do. So the first and second category, and third category is partially. It is mentioned vikshipta. It is like butterfly mind. So sometimes we are very active, we are able to do services. Sometimes means when there are difficulties, when there is some pain in terms of body or in terms of the extended body, that means family members, it could be anything, parents, it could be any of those extensions. So any time we see difficulty or pain coming from any of these members, our own or our own close family or extended family, then our faith gets affected, our focus gets affected, our consistency is not there. Then we come to the illusion, we come to this laziness, we come to the ignorance. So we become bewildered. So this is the bottom. Sometimes we are very nice and we are actively engaging, but at times when there is happiness, when there things are going all right, then we are in that mode of goodness. But when things are not all right, when things something is happening with us, then whether it's a work related or family related or job or health, whatever it could be, then we are acting not so focused. We are acting on the mode of ignorance. This is in the third category, which is called Vikshipta. The example is given butterfly. The next category is the Ekagra, as it is mentioned here. Tasmad Ekagra Manasa. So one point attention. So this means mode of goodness. So there is are even more than that. So still mode of goodness. Some tinges are there. That's it. One point attention. Most of the times, it's not consistently every day, every minute, but it most of the times is one point. He has a focus because he has regulated his life. So that is Ekagra Manasa. Then the fifth category is called fully absorbed mind, fully absorbed mind. That is called Niruddha. This has been used, Niruddha. That's why the Aniruddha name is also the Niruddha came from Aniruddha. That's why the who is the controller of the mind? Aniruddha. Vasudeva is a consciousness. There are four avatars, four Chaturvyuha coming from Lord Krishna to Balaram to Lord Balram to four quadruple expansion. Vasudeva, Sankrishna, Pradyumna, Aniruddha coming from Balram, and then again first Sankrishna expands again Lord Narayan, and from again second quadruple. So this quadruple expansion. Vasudeva is for consciousness. They are in charge for consciousness. Sankrishna is for ego, false ego, and then mind is Aniruddha, and Pradyumna is for intelligence. There, so and there, that's why there is separate prayers for Aniruddha is being given by Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva in I think Canto 4 or Canto 4 only I think to Prachetas I think. Namo Namo Aniruddhaya Rishikeshendriyatmane. I forget the other lines, but there are two verses about Aniruddha's prayers, so that our mind can be focused by praying to Lord Aniruddha. That's why Lord Shiva is giving to Prachetas, I believe these specific prayers have been given. But austerity is very much required. We see all the example from Lord Rishabhadev, from this Prachetas. Any of the kings are always there before they give the kingdom to their sons. They always wanted them to go through some austerity, pious spirits, and especially worshipping the Lord. To whether we say Prachin Barhi giving to Prachetas, Rishabhadev giving to his 100 sons, told them to go and perform austerity, worship the Supreme Lord. Then only after they come to the maturity, then only they are being given task to rule the kingdom. Otherwise, they don't know how to rule. They are not properly guided. They are not regulated enough to guide. To take the burden of so many living entities, so many citizens, it is not easy. So that's why nobody should become spiritual master unless they are situated in this Ekagra Manasa Niruddha stage. They cannot take up. So that, but many times we see in today's world, they want to become spiritual master, even though they are not situated in this stage. Then they cannot accept those who are in Madhyamadikari, Uttamadikari stage disciples. So these five categories, it is very important to understand these five categories. But to purify these five categories, to come to this highest stage, Ekagra Manasa, we have to first regulate our eating habits. That means we have to, and Prabhupada, you can see clearly how Prabhupada used to eat. Specific time, morning breakfast, he used to take the fruits, mostly fruits and maybe khichdi or maybe some muri or some poha in the morning around 8:39. After going for, he used to wake up at 1 or 2 o'clock. We shouldn't imitate. We shouldn't imitate. We can try based on our time, place, circumstance, based on our scenario where we are in. So then accordingly we can go slowly, gradually from waking up at 6 or 5, 4:30, gradually. We have to adjust these things, so that it depends on what we eat in the night, especially how we regulate our eating habits. Prabhupada used to eat morning breakfast around 8:39. After coming from the morning walk, he used to go regularly for morning walk. No jet lag, nothing. Even after traveling so much, everybody used to sleep, fell asleep. But Prabhupada used to go with his morning walk. He used to come back and take darshan of the deities. He used to give class many times. Then he went on. Then he used to take a breakfast, then massage. And then he used to take his lunch 12:30 between 12 and 1 or so. Then again then in the night only he used to take milk for sure. Every day milk is for guaranteed with hot puri or some halwa or something light, not so much. Generally around 6, 7 like that, not too late. One of them, and then he used to sleep around 8:39 or anywhere between 9 and 10, and then wake up again at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock to translate the books. He himself used to read his own books, but because Prabhupada thought because he didn't write, Krishna has inspired, his Acharya has inspired, so he used to read his own books, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam Charitamrita. So Srutakirti Prabhu was seeing that Prabhupada used to call him and then sometimes tell him, now open the book and read. He used to read, Prabhupada used to read, and he also used to encourage him to read. Any book, you pick up any book, any from anywhere, read one book, one line, one chapter, one word, even one word, if you can read and understand and remember and reflect and act on it, then you can perfect your life. It is so potent. Krishna is there personally. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna directly spoke, and Bhagavatam is about Krishna. Chaitanya Charitamrita is about Krishna, Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So that's why Prabhupada emphasized always this. So that's why eating habits must be regulated and sleeping habits must be regulated, because energy is coming from the super soul. The soul will get lot of energy. When we engage in devotion service in this way, when it is regulated, so the eating is regulated, sleeping is regulated, then 5 to 6 hours sleep is good enough. But it has to be practiced. Krishna is mentioning in the 8th chapter also, Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanyagam. Chetasa means mind, the consciousness, the imprints, chitta. It must be regulated. Abhyas means it is a practice. It is not one day suddenly, tomorrow I am going to wake up at 3:30 or 3. Then it is not going to happen. It's not good also, because we have to practice that slowly, gradually. We have to bring that step by step regulation. So that's why the eating, as Prabhupada is mentioning in the 1344 verse, unless one is pure, then that's why it is mentioned. Even Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning to Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj was a very strong, very attentive hearing, one who gives strong attention, respect, and also great attention and respect to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Then naturally they will be able to attain Krishna. Strong faith and fixed up mind they will develop naturally. It is mentioned, what is that? Mahapaurushiko Bhagavan Tat Sraddha Datam Asu Shyam Mukunde Matisati. So Mahapurusha, because Purusha is regularly used for living entity. Mahapurusha means one who is attached to the Supreme Lord. So he is called Mahapurusha, and Mahapurusha means the disciple or devotee of that Supreme Lord who is the Mahapurusha. So that is called Mahapurushako Bhavan. So this is because he is constantly, is very attentively. Sravanam is example is Parikshit Maharaj, because he has attentively heard with rapt attention, with so much respect for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's why he is able to come to that stage very quickly. Shan Mukunde, within 7 days. From childhood he was thinking about the Lord, he was playing with Krishna dolls, he was always remembering, because he's seen in his heart when he was saved in the womb of his mother, Uttara, by Brahmastra released by Ashwadhama. Krishna protected. Then that time he could see the Supreme Lord, because he expanded from 1/10,000 tip of the hair, that much small, to 9 inches or so. He could see. So that's why he started searching for that Lord when he came out from that. So he's called Parikshit Maharaj. He also looked like the Lord, blackish blue complexion also. So he's not ordinary devotee. So with that respect, so that's why here it is mentioned, in order for us to come out of this, so hearing from advanced devotees and associating with advanced devotees, and we have to make sure that regularly it is done. Practice. We have to make a timetable, and then we have to fix up our time. This is the priority. That's why. So unless we first starting with the desire, we have to have strong desire and strong priorities in our life. No matter what, at this time I am going to do this only. Emergency is fine. Chanting and hearing and reading. Certain time we are allocating, depending on how many rounds we are chanting, how much time we have other than our job and taking care of family and sleeping and eating. So accordingly we have to divide that and then regulate it. Ahara suddho, sattva suddhe, smritarlam. Unless we come to the mode of goodness means we have regulated habits, regulated life. Everything is very much regulated. So Prabhupada used to do every day like that. Even when he is traveling, wherever he is, whether he was not caring about whether it's in Hawaii or California or New Jersey or New York or in India, whether it's too cold or too hot, he used to sit outside in Vrindavan when it's too hot, too cold. Still, he used to go on. So because that is what, when somebody is regulated, it doesn't matter. Externals doesn't matter much. He's not affected because he's in this niruddha stage of mind, so that he's not affected. So that's a more we associate with advanced devotees, naturally we'll come to that stage of this bhava. Because we don't hear regularly, because we don't associate with advanced devotees, so that's a further it is mentioned Sravanam and Kirtanam. And then remembering this mind. The mind must be remembering means unless we hear and chant with that attention and regulation in the morning time with the focus, great focus. Otherwise, if the focus is not there, focus is not there because of the passion and ignorance is too much in the life. So when we come to bring it to goodness because of the regulation in our activities with the association of advanced devotees, we are taking the mercy and taking carrying that consciousness from these advanced devotees, then we will be able to have that same consciousness, we'll develop that same bhava, same consciousness, same characteristics. So then we will be able to come to this ekagra manasa. So we'll not be fluctuating in our activities, in our regulated activities. So that's why it's called Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Krishna is mentioning Abhyasa. Yeah. In the 12th chapter also, Krishna is mentioning if we cannot mayeva man adatso may buddhim nivesha nivasisya mayeva ato urdham na samsaya. We have to think of me directly, spontaneously. If we cannot do that, ata chittam samadhatum na shaknosi maestram abhyasa yogena to mam ichchaptum dhanujya. Then you practice regulative principles. Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. That practicing regulative principles means in this hearing, chanting, and remembering and worshipping. Worshipping is also very important because if we don't worship the Supreme Lord, then we cannot develop taste for the holy name. We cannot develop, you cannot hear properly, and we cannot chant properly, we cannot hear properly, you cannot remember also because it is personal touch, even if it is pictures. You are touching the picture, you are offering tulsi leaves, you are seeing, you can sit in front of the pictures and then chant the holy name. So that the deity worship plays a prominent role. That's why it is mentioned here. Pujyastha Nityada. That is worshipping the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Both are very, very important. Mr. Prabhupada and the spiritual master. So, and constantly trying to serve them whatever way, in person whenever possible. If not possible, then his devotees, his representatives. So, in this way, we take the opportunity as much as possible. Then naturally, we'll come from this Kshipta to Vikshipta, Kshipta to Muda to Vikshipta to Niruda, Ekagra, and then finally Niruda. Otherwise, it's very difficult unless we have a regulation, regulative habits. So, unless our thoughts are pure, then we cannot. Where Prabhupada is mentioning this 1344. Let me read that again. Yeah. तत्र कीर्तयतो विप्र तत्र कीर्तयतो विप्रशेर भूरि तेजस अहम च अद्य गमं तथा nivistas. The word used is nivistas, one who is fixed up in a nivista tad anugrahat, by his mercy of the Lord. So aham va sravayishyami yataditam yatamati. Sota Goswami is able to speak exactly what is that. Not a single word he left, not a single thing he concocted or added or subtracted. Exactly what Sukadeva Goswami spoke, exactly he spoke back. Imagine how much difficult it is. We have a hard time remembering what we are hearing today. Tomorrow morning itself we don't remember. After a few minutes itself we don't remember. Imagine our conditioning. So the regulation is not there. That's why when the body or the senses has a regulation, naturally we will be able to remember more because mind is focused. That's when we can remember more. And when it is especially when it is in a nishta stage, especially the more we follow the brahmacharya, fixed up, the consciousness is fully focused on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Spiritual Master, then we'll be able to remember more. So we can remember much more longer. That we have to also speak, we have to preach whatever we know, even 2 lines we know. We don't need to become experts, we don't need to know the verses. Whatever we are learning, we should speak to others. That way we can remember more. If we don't speak, then we cannot remember. So that's why we can speak within the family members, or we can speak to some other devotees. So whenever we get opportunity, we can speak to others. We can try to talk about Krishna. So that's why here it is mentioned in this. First category of Chipta is lack of decision making, restlessness, confusion, lack of clarity, anxiety, and then because of the no regulation in the food, no regulation in the sleep, and there too much negativity and criticizing and thinking negative things. This is coming from this kshipta mind. Mind is not focused, mind is operating on the passion. We are trying to always find faults, trying to look at things, always negativity is coming in the mind, and trying to criticize others. And the second one is the mode of ignorance, which is in the muda mind, lust, anger, and greed and infatuation. Because of these things, it is operating on that. Too much lust and anger and greed is there. Infatuation is there. Lack of energy, poor concentration, distorted connection with oneself and supreme self. Depression, sadness. This depression is coming from that because of the no regulation, eating, sleeping, as Prabhupada is mentioning. So that's why it is very important to regulate the positive energy. That means we should give always for these mind to be absorbed positive things. That means associating with the advanced devotees, Kirtan, Mahaprasad, Mahaprasad devotees, Srutakirti Prabhu saved even the rice of what Prabhupada and gave Mahaprasad long back ago, even after 30-40 years. You still have the rice Prabhupada Maha. You can imagine how important it is. The Mahaprasad of the Lord, and then one devotee, pure devotee takes, and his remnants, Maha, it is much more, because Lord Nityananda Prabhu has a Nitya Siddha, Krupa Siddha, Sadhana Siddha. So, Krupa Siddha is like Jagai Mata, so simple, but they didn't perform any pious credit, they didn't perform any devotions of it. But they have been given mercy by Krupa Siddha without performing any sadhana. They became great devotees by Lord Nityananda Prabhu's mercy, Krupa Siddha. So that is the best example of Krupa Siddha, Jagai and Madai. They became Jagadananda and Madhavananda. So that you can see that's why. So it requires the Maha mercy of it can come through these pure devotees, remnants, pure devotees, touch of the lotus feet, serving their lotus feet physically, or following their instructions. In this way, mercy flows. So by these, then naturally we can come out of the ignorance, this muda mind. And worshipping the deity, and that helps actually. It helps a lot. Those who are operating in this Kshipta or Vikshipta or Muda, to come to that next stage, Ekagra, worshipping the deity is it helps. More we become personalized, more we become attached to the Lord's form, where it's a pictures is also fine. So more and more we love to do service and think about the Lord and serving the Lord, just like our family members. Then naturally all these regulation will come into picture automatically. Because if our kids has to go to school, kids has to go to college, whatever, we are very time bound. We operate on it, because otherwise they get delayed and then it doesn't go well. So then we are very much aware of these things, and we follow a very regulative way. Same way, when that same consciousness applies, when we start worshipping the deity in that same mold, same consciousness, then naturally we will come to our regulate. Because of the deity, because of the Lord's worship, then we become regulate in our life. Because if that thing is not there, then we don't have regulation. There is no time. We will offer whatever time we want. But if the kids are going to school, we know they have to take bath before, they have to wake up at certain time. There is a particular time when they have to do certain things before they can get on bus. Otherwise, they will miss bus. We don't do that. But same thing, we do that with the Lord, because we are not so much in developing that rasa and relationship with the Lord, not worshipping the deity in that same fashion. Yes, lenience is there in home worship, but still we shouldn't take it so granted. So we should be more serious to do at whatever time, even if it is not convenient. Later time, that's fine. Instead of 8, we may, or after 10 o'clock, open the altar. First thing is doing the kirtan, doing the chanting is the first and foremost important. Then only we should, even after a few rounds at least, then only we should open the altar and do that. Unless we are practiced to do Mangalarti, and then it's all right. But otherwise, best thing is to chant first, and then we should start opening the altar, because that we are in the constant. Otherwise, as soon as we wake up, then we are so much in angry mode. We start thinking of this, that. Shouting and so much. Consciousness is completely not. That's the first thing is to chant, so that our mind is stable or we are focused. Then when we open the altar, then the same thing has to be applied. The consciousness must be like when you are waking, just like how you wake up your child. You suddenly wake up your child, you put on the lights and everything. No, you don't do it, because you know how they feel, how they get also disturbed when somebody suddenly wakes up. Same way, we have to also gently, when you put on light, dim light or something, you have to apply this personal consciousness. How you touch, how you say, there's a mantra. Same way you use your nicknames to wake up to your child and those things, whatever we say, certain things. Same way to the Lord also, within our, if you don't know the verses, you can say within your mind, with your own feelings, you can call Him, you can call the Lord. So this is all became so much. More we become personal, more we regulate in this way, then naturally Lord also will reciprocate. He will reveal what He wants, how He wants you to serve Him. All this naturally Krishna will reveal. But until we come to that kind of more the consciousness, more absorbed, more become personal, more dependent on the Lord and Lord's mercy, then naturally these stages of mind will naturally will be elevated from these 1 2 3 to 4 and 5. That is what we need actually, ekagra manasa. If you don't have ekagra manasa, this srotavya, kirtitavya, dhyaya, puja cannot happen. We may do it, but so mechanical, so monotonous. So we are not really developing any taste whatsoever in these four processes. It is very important. Otherwise we cannot come to the next stages. So the real strong faith has to be there, and great respect, and great gratitude for the Supreme Lord and whatever Krishna is giving, arranging things, even though there may be difficulties sometimes, but still we should have that grateful. So we should, Krishna is mine and I am Krishna's. In that thought process, we have to do this. So then we can easily regulate. So that's what is been explained here. Any questions? Any questions? No questions? Everybody understood? Any questions on the phone? Yes. Ashesh Karna Jagannath, go ahead.
Yes, so the mind is a very difficult thing. So in Gita, Bhagavan told that to Arjuna that Arjuna told to Bhagavan that mind, I can control the wind, but I cannot control the mind.
Correct.
So that is the position. So you are talking like a monkey mind also there.
Correct.
It is very difficult to control. So
Yes.
so how to? What is I know that there is some standard processes there. Till now, there is some education. There is a lot of problem.
Yeah. Yes. I understood your question. So yeah, there is a verse in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna Arjuna is speaking. Chanchalam him manah partha. Pramati balavadrudam. Vayoreva sudushkaram. Very difficult to control the mind. It is like controlling the wind. You cannot control the wind. Same way, the senses are also dragging on into so many different sense objects constantly. How do that? And then Krishna is mentioning abhyasa yoga yuktena. So you need require practice, because the lust is situated in the mind, senses, first senses, the senses to sense objects, because always not Krishna is not there. All other things are there. All other various objects are there. Um, in the senses, through the eyes, the ears, the nose, the touch, the tongue. So the tongue is the first problem. So these five things are because of that senses and sense objects. That is the first problem, gross senses. And then the next one is the mind is above that. So that's why Krishna is mentioning regulate your life, use practice abhyas. It only can come detachment. By your practice, natural detachment will happen. Then you will be able to control. Otherwise, it's not easy to control. Oops, mute. So it's very difficult to come otherwise. So that's why Shastra is laying out 1.3.44 Krishna, Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport. Unless our eating, sleeping, mating, defending is pure, mind cannot be pure, our actions cannot be pure. First, our actions cannot be pure. If our eating, sleeping, mating, defending, there is no regulation, then our actions cannot be pure. Then, if our actions cannot be pure, then mind cannot be pure. So that's why the first section is regulating. So, okay, whatever stage we are right now, so from tomorrow on, there should be a plan. Yes, sometimes you may not be able to do, but at least there should be something, some plan to do for business, for job, everything. We have a plan for our investment, everything. There's a plan. We have a plan. But for spiritual progress, to control the mind, there should be a plan. If you don't plan, who is planning? Mind is planning. So that I forgot to tell. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, Manasa Deho Geho Jo Kichu More Arpilu Tui Nanda Kishore. That is the first two lines. Manasa Deho Geho. Oh mind, Manasa, not only mind, Manasa Deha, the body and the senses. Manasa Deha Geha, or home. Means home doesn't mean just home. Whatever resources you have, your furniture, your car, whatever, etc., etc. It's all manasa, deha, geha, jo kichu more. Whatever I have in relation to these three things, mainly in this world, in compare, all comes under these three things. Jo kichu more, arpilu tui nanda kishore. I am surrendering, I am offering everything at your lotus feet. Then only mind can be controlled. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself is offering to control his mind. He is offering, he is praying to the Lord in this way. And then Sampada Vipade, Jivana Marane. So, whether it's in happiness situated, good, nice situation, or in a distress situation, Vipada, difficult situation. Jivana Marane, living or dead. Any stage, I want to offer everything at your lotus feet. Let me always relieve this everything, the pleasures and pains, whatever I have, I'm going through. Let me offer everything at your lotus feet. So in this way, there is almost eight verses, 8 lines or 10 lines are there. Bhaktivinoda Thakur praying. So it is all about how we use this time efficiently, how we regulate our consciousness. That means there should be planning very much, as I was discussing, or eating, or sleeping, or mating, or defending. So all this must be regulated. That means activities. We have to look at what is our activity day to day basis, where I can improve, what is happening, where my time is spent, whether it's really needed. Is it a need or is it a want? Might be watching TV or might be watching news. Is it really needed? News you will get to know either way through somebody or somebody. So all these various things, different people have different tendencies. So those things we have to see what is important, where is the priority, how the priority is being laid out. So then we have to assign those proper priorities accordingly, and then balance it. Then naturally will come, and then the best thing is that attentively hear regularly every day, while doing service also. That's why these Prabhupada lectures are there to hear. While doing service also we should hear. So there is Prabhupada Katha also there, memories of Prabhupada, so many. Because so that we know what we are doing mistakes. If we don't hear, then there is no way we will know what to correct in our life. Because how will we know otherwise? There is no possibility of correcting ourselves. Other who will? Because spiritual master is not there next to us to chastise, to instruct us what we are doing mistakes. How will we know? So that's when when we start hearing, then we will know. Oh, this is where I have to improve upon. This is where I am supposed to correct myself. And so where I am going wrong. So all these things we will know when, as we hear, whether Prabhupada's pastimes, Prabhupada's memories, or from Prabhupada speaking on Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita. We see that constantly. This Bhagavan Acharya, Prabhupada, Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see that. Bhagavan Acharya was a great devotee of the Lord. Initially, he was a logist, he was a very expert in logic. Later on, he became attached to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then he always constantly used to feed. Mahaprabhu used to invite the Lord to his home, and the Lord also became very much merciful to Bhagavan Acharya. Then he used to invite the Lord and he used to feed him regularly. Then one time, because he didn't have grains, then he told Chota Haridas. Then Chota Haridas went and begged the rice, and he was talking intimately with elderly Mataji. And then Mahaprabhu gave a big punishment to Chota Haridas because of his not regulated. He is not supposed, even though he should beg, but not in that fashion. So then he had told him, he removed him from his service. He told him, you cannot be here in my association of any of my devotees association. You have to, so you have to live on your own. So now obviously he committed suicide later on, but because still he has so much attachment, thinking even then he was thinking about the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he gave up in that way, but still he was singing songs of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to hear. Then when disciples asked what happened, we heard that he left his body. Then Mahaprabhu told, yes, he attained his spiritual body. So, but Mahaprabhu, to teach lesson to all his disciples, is very strictly teaching how to be regulated. And each and every, doesn't matter whatever form, even if you are advanced devotee also, we should be regulated. Regulation is always there, because the minute we become complacent, minute we become relaxed, minute we think that we are great or we have done a lot of service, that pride comes, finished, immediately finished. So that's how we see many devotees fell down, because they are not focused in their chanting. That chanting should go on, reading should go on. As we see, Prabhupada himself is reading his own books. He knows everything in and out. He doesn't need to read. But why is he reading? Because that is the process we should follow. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also used to read. Bhakti Vinod Thakur also, all the acharyas. So Rupa Goswami, you see how they utilize their resources. King Maharaj Man Singh, a great, he has so much money. He came to Rupa Goswami because Rupa Goswami has given up everything, and then he came to Vrindavan. He was simply chanting and preaching the message. Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipuno Sadharma Samstapako. He was very much regulated. He was staying only in under one tree. They are fully regulated, but still, to exemplify, because they think, oh, I may be attached to this tree is very nice, it is giving shade, it has fruits and everything. But they used to stay in only under one tree on one day, next day another tree. So they are showing by the example how to be regulated, how to be focused. They shouldn't be attached to even small petty things. My coat, my blanket, my kamandalu, or my this, my that. No, we shouldn't be attached to any of. That's what Rupa Goswami is showing. Then Maharaj Man Singh approached, and he said, I have a lot of money, what can I do? He said, what will I do with money? I don't need it. But if you have money, you have attraction, you want to do something for the Lord, yes, you can build a beautiful temple. So that's how Radha Govinda Mandir in Vrindavan has come about. Even now, nobody can build a temple like that. 7 stories. Top stories were broken by this invasion of this some Nawabs later on, but still the temple is still there. It is so beautiful, the construction, the architecture, everything. This is Maharaj Man Singh. Because that's how the kings used to engage their time, like Ambaresh Maharaj. Because Gautam Muni, he was guided by the Brahmana. Gautam Muni instructed Ambaresh Maharaj. Just like Sukadeva Goswami spoke to Parikshit Maharaj, how he attentively, raptly he heard Parikshit he was got delivered, and Sota Goswami heard from Sukadeva Goswami. Same way you should also hear. So in this way, Gautam Muni instructed Amrish Maharaj. Then he simply followed, even though he was a great king and he has a lot of responsibilities. He used to use everything, 9 types of devote, everything. He used his hands, his legs, everything in Lord service. But he used to engage also in kingly duties. So much opulence was there. He regulated. When the regulation is there, doesn't matter what we are doing, what job we are doing, everything becomes Krishnized because it is all regulated. So, because regulation is not there, the mind is tend to act in certain way. So, but when we put our this association and serving the deity, worshipping the deity in the same consciousness as our child, our parents, then naturally regulation will come. Lord will make us regulated. But since we don't, neither we do that, nor we hear attentively, nor we chant attentively, nor we have focus, we have 100 things going on in our life, 100 things to, priorities. Then how will we, if we have too many priorities, then how are we going to regulate? There is no way we can regulate when we have those many priorities. So that's why we have to see, keep a simple life. Whatever one job is good enough, whatever we are getting. So we should be careful. We should see what is our priority and then balance it. This is the only way mind can be controlled. Otherwise, it's very difficult to control mind. Udvega, agitation is always comes because of this desire is not there to be balanced in life. Desire is not there to serve the Lord or his devotees. You have to constantly look for opportunities to serve the devotees. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is establishing that example. He was serving always, he was looking when my devotees are going to come, when I can garland, when I can feed them, when I can serve them. He was constantly looking for that opportunity. So that's how he trained all his devotees. So that's how you can see Kolavesh Sridhar, all his devotees, all his disciples became exalted because they simply followed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions, and his behavior exemplified. So they fully regulated. Some are very much rich, Raghunath Das Goswami. Some are very rich. Sivananda Sen used to maintain all of them. He was very rich, but he used to use how he used his money. He regulated fully. He used money in serving his whole village. All the devotee he was maintaining. He was giving the places. He was giving the food. He was maintaining everybody. So that's how you have to utilize. So otherwise, it is implication. When the resources ardha is not utilized properly, then it becomes, instead of become paramartha, it becomes vyardhata. So that's how everything must be regulated, means it should be utilized, some portion of it. Naturally, Krishna will give indication, and Krishna will give more and more. And we see that also. Otherwise, the great devotees, Amrish Maharaj and Maharaj Man Singh, they have so much opulence because Krishna sees the independence. When the free will is utilized properly, then after seeing, testing few times, then Krishna will give so much wealth because he knows he will not be attracted or attached by that wealth. Then at that time it doesn't matter. But until that time, Krishna has to test to make sure, because he doesn't want his devotees to get attracted by ABC, different types of material allurements. So sometimes Krishna tests in different ways. When we realize, then when we are always trying to serve the Lord, utilizing everything, then Krishna will always increase, will always give more and more. So I hope it clarifies. Any other questions? Already late, 9:40 or something, I think. Is that all right? Ashesh Karna Jagannath Prabhu?
Yes, so very good explanation. Yes, so we got it.
Okay.
Got it, and later we can ask other questions later.
Yeah.
Not today, other.
Yes. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
No questions, Prabhuji.
No questions. Good. Thank you. Okay. Srinivas Prabhu, I think you have a question, or anybody else?
No problem.
Okay.
Right now, I think I'll.
Okay. Oh, driving. Okay. Take care. Yeah. Okay. If you don't have questions, we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Grandraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shubho
Jai.
Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.